He's got 5 championships. He's at 20. Most guys that move up to the 450 class are around his age. Sexton, Dungy, pretty much anyone that's in the premier class right now. Kenny, the list goes on. And really the only guy that, we talked a little briefly about it with Hunter being all over Tomac last year. Jet was all over Tomac and was able to get around him. Right. So now you have Deegan in the 250 class, and he pretty much just solidified his dominance by arguably taking out his teammate, which is, he didn't need to do that. But from a strategic standpoint, it seems like he was sending a message. But what are your guys' take on that?
David, I want to get your opinion. I think you said you don't agree or do agree with Deegan should have gone 450. I missed that.
I agree. He should have gone 450. And
okay,
that's just my opinion. They have their plan, and I respect that. But I also think that the 250 class was created as a feeder class, and get your feet wet, opportunity, east, west. You don't have to do the whole season, like a stepping stone to the 450. And, you could be in there a couple years and get some experience before you move up. And then all of a sudden it was like, well, there's only so many rides in the 450 class, and the 250, you end up with some really good guys in there. And it kind of defeats, I think, originally what that class was created for. So to get a guy in there like 4 years, that's kind of a long time. And Kitchen, for example, he caught my eye at Loretta's, and then his first national at Unadilla. And I just kind of been watching his progress. And I think he's just been held back being in the 250 class. I think if he's on a 450, he'd be good right now. He'd probably been in the 10 the other night. Yeah, I think so. It's just, I would go to Golden State race back in the day, or a Florida Winter Am, or even a local race just on a week off, and have a hard time winning. And sometimes I wouldn't. Like a Trans-Cal thing, we did a lot of off-season races, and I would lose. And deep down, I knew this one isn't important. It's not the real deal. So, hey, if I don't win it, it's not the end of the world. The 250 class isn't going to be really that big of a deal like 5 years from now for Levi or Deegan,
Well, look at Stewart. I don't mean to interrupt, but look at Malcolm Stewart. He was the champion, and he couldn't find a 450 ride after winning a title.
I think probably contracts or just the way that it worked out. I would have thought it would have been cool to have Levi on the factory team, 450.
As opposed to with Sexton.
Yeah. And that's no slight on Marchbanks, not at all. But I thought Levi is boy, is he poised and ready to go for a 450. He'd be so good. I think he's really skilled. I like the way he's got a lot of finesse and speed, and he's just horsing around the 250 class. I think too long. I wish he was up also, but he had injuries that messed him up for a couple seasons. He didn't really get the whole season, I think, but you can stay there too long. And I would have liked to have seen.
Look at Austin Faulkner, unfortunately.
Yeah, too long. That's just my thought.
And Johnny, I want to keep your question going because you'd asked David about, the takeout with Max Anstey, and I just wanted to get his opinion on Deegan. So my apologies for the interruption. What's your thought? What's your thought on Deegan and Max, David?
Max looked over and saw. Well, he got scared a little because Deegan. Didn't he do that in a heat race too?
Yeah. He just drove in real hard on him.
And I was like, whoa, and he didn't make contact, but he definitely, that'll get your attention. And so when they got into the section where he actually made the pass, Max was looking over at him like, okay, you got me, Just
he was already checked up.
Yeah, just waiting for it to be over with so he could just carry on. And if Deegan would have just gone straight into the corner and stopped kind of and all that stuff, would have been fine, as far as I'm concerned. Fine, completely fine. He weaved out to the right, though, to make sure he got over. So that, in my opinion, that was intent to go over there and try to goof him up worse. And if he goes down, kind of like Sexton, like, if he goes down, he goes down. Later you regret that because you got one coming.
Was it too far?
I think because of what he's been doing his whole career, he's when you see it and then he does it again. If I was a rider, I would make a note of that, and that would never happen again, ever.
So, yep. Okay, maybe. Okay, this is the.
Watch Max look over right there. Okay, you got it. Hey, what, dude? We're teammates. Why?
But to be honest, like, guess who's got the red plate now?
Oh, I know. If you're Deegan, it's like
best case scenario for Deegan. Best case scenario for Deegan.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it was almost it was a necessary, because if you look at the point spread after round one, it could be anybody but Max, but whether he's teammate or not teammate, that's the guy that's got the points lead, and Deegan got fourth last weekend, and he's got to do everything he can to try to level that up. Yeah. And also don't forget, Johnny, this is what he did to Cole Davies as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
well, I asked him at that race in Denver, because nobody at the press conference was going to ask him anything. I was like, do you like to win that way? Do you like to win by taking somebody out? And yeah, he blocked him, but that's the history shows he took him out because he ended up crashing because of it. And he was like, dude, would you take somebody out for $500,000? And at that point I was like, you know what? That was an honest answer. Of course, right? You'd take your grandma out for $500,000. So
yeah, but where's the fine line between rubbing is racing and you realize, hey, we're pretty comparable, and not because David's on the line, but the idea that David didn't go in and just clean somebody out. It's rubbing is racing. I mean, that was it A1 that they were talking about. How many lead changes did you and RJ have in the last lap?
But
I think
a lot. 5. There's always been, guys like questionable moves always. And, shoot, I've done some major takeouts myself, been taken out. And we didn't get too bummed about it, and there wasn't an internet for everyone to weigh in on it, and a bunch of stuff to start, right?
Yeah.
We policed it ourselves. We didn't need the AMA to come in and officiate, award points, and it's nonsense.
How did you guys police it yourself?
If I got rubbed wrong, somebody did something where I'm like, that's okay, that's in the file cabinet. That happened again, then I'm just going to torpedo the guy.
Okay, so hypothetically, you are Max.
And I mean it. Like, that's
you had the points lead, David. If I'm putting you in this hopper hypotheticals, if I'm putting you in the scenario, you're Max, your teammate takes you out. What do you do the next round?
The next round depends on what opportunities I have, but I would remember what Levi did last year.
Yep.
Yeah, at the playoffs.
It cost him a championship, didn't it?
Yep.
Deegan. So Max remembers that, and so he'll pick the right point to do what he wants to do, and he has a pass to do it, I would think. So if I were Max, I would pick the right time, not irritate him and give him more rounds before the end to be the man, because Deegan's he's gonna flex, he's gonna talk, he's gonna ride aggressive. There's no way he's gonna tone that down. He's gonna double down on it. So if you're Max, you gotta fight fire with fire, but you gotta be careful when. So I think he'd be more methodical about how he retaliates, but I would imagine he's gonna. If he doesn't, that's weakness, and Deegan just owns everybody. So they gotta respond.
David, I said this to my wife when we were watching the race. When I saw that happen, the first thing I thought of, and I'd like your honest opinion when I make the comment, I felt like he just made a lot of enemies in the 450 class.
Oh, everybody's watching that.
I'm like, yeah, he's playing with the 250 class, and you just articulated it earlier. Max has been in the class for a long time, just because of circumstances, not his own. But
hey, you might know this, but I think in the early days of Lance Armstrong going to the Tour de France, he wasn't very appreciated at that point and respected.
Right.
So he got run into every bit of road furniture, and they just made it harder on him.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I think Deegan's doing what I've done at times. I recognize it. Is create a stir, and then that puts you in a position to have to deliver.
Yeah.
And I think he feeds on that. He likes it. And
Yeah.
I don't always like what he does and says. I mean, but I respect that he's like, I'm doing it my way, and I'm going to get what I intend and work for. So I respect that. But if I'm Max, I'm ticked off, but I'll smile about it and stuff, and then get him back when that's how we did it.
So
The
David,
time is ticking.
do we see Deegan creating a fight fest like Matasevich and Bradshaw?
He's going to create something, and it's not going to be friendly.
Yeah.
He's not out there to make friends and hang out and all that. He's out there to win races and create controversy and maybe not go for that on purpose. But if it happens to be controversial, well, good. More
Yeah.
motivation, more haters, more whatever. He seems to feed off of that. And towards the
I
end of Hannah's career, I watched him a little bit, and he was good enough, but he needed something. He needed Keith Bowen to, kind of get too close to him in practice, or somebody to roost him on the backside of a jump and then fire him up, and then you couldn't beat him.
Well, what was gnarly is here's minor context, is at Denver when Deegan took out Cole Davies. After the fact, Cole was on the berm crying, and almost the entire 450 class got off their bikes and went up to Cole and was basically like, "Hey, your day's coming." And the entire stadium was booing Deegan. Nobody in the 450 class congratulated Deegan, which was I thought was interesting.
That's
Yeah,
why I'm wondering.
you want respect, but you have to give it. If you don't give it, you won't get it. And he's not giving it very much.
Well,
And
think about
people make a note of that. They've got good memories.
Hmm.
well, if you go back just to the SMX finals, him and Shimoda were getting into it a bunch. That race was very interesting to watch. And then,
Well, that was, I think, with that one, it was pretty ridiculous, actually. But look how much money's on the line.
yeah.
So
It's literally a local dash for cash race.
yeah,
I
I kind of understand it. And with Deegan, like, what do you expect? I didn't like seeing some of it, but that's a lot of money, and he's young.
What's encouraging to me is the fact that we had Joe that was able to mix it up with them. You've had Levi that's been able to mix it up with them. Cole Davies has been able to mix it up with them. So I don't see, it's not like he's getting the whole shot. I hate to, especially for anybody that I always tease, race against James Stewart, right? It was just James Stewart was just an absolute beatdown from the minute the gate dropped, except for that round in Vegas where he yard darted himself when he got a bad start and just tried to come through in the first lap. But it's one of those things that I don't see Deegan. He's good, but Joe Shimoda could get in there and rub with him a little bit. Cole Davies did it. Levi Kitchen has done it. Max Anstey has done it. It's not that total domination. And I just can't help but wonder. I'd love to be a fly on the wall. Clearly Brian Deegan saw something at the European races where they're like, nope, we just don't have what it takes for that 450. I can't think of any other reason. He's already got a gear deal. We already know he's got a 450 outdoor deal. But for them to squat on the 450 Supercross, I would love to know. I mean, I think we can guesstimate. Obviously, Brian didn't think he had the speed and the consistency, but I just, it's not like Deegan is untouchable in the 250 class. At least not based on what we've seen these last 2 years, in my
well,
opinion.
if there is no retaliation by, and we're not openly, us
Of
three are not
course.
openly saying like, oh, this is going to be a brawl. Let's just hurt the guys. No, but like they need to defend themselves at some point, because if they don't, then it's just Deacon's just going to run away with it. As soon as they get close to him, they're going to get nervous. They're going to get arm pump, and he's just going to own them mentally. And then he's going to walk away with this championship and move on to the 450s. So, and that's exactly what he's doing. And what we're talking about is basically what he's done in the 250 class. He's going to damn near have to do it in the 450 class. He's going to have to treat Sexton and Roxon and these guys with a minor level of disrespect to just honestly protect himself because of the reputation that he's been getting. And we're not harping on Deegan for all this dirty riding, because like if you think of his takeout with Max, like that was the slowest takeout ever. He's not deliberately going in there to try to hurt guys.
Max was so surprised.
Yes.
That he fell. Okay. I saw Deegan do that to the number 23 on the KTM. Forget his name. At Anaheim last year.
Beaumer.
Yeah. He took him up to the top of the berm, looked over all that. And, it wasn't a takeout, but he hung out there long enough for Beaumer to mess up. And he shouldn't have. He shouldn't have fallen. But they're surprised and they shouldn't be. It's Deegan. He is going to be aggressive and do things that you wouldn't expect. He's never going to change. And when he gets to the 450, I still don't think he's going to change. He's going to talk and be fast.
He can't. It would be not good for Deegan if he did all of a sudden change his strategy.
Yeah, he's going to keep doing it. I think he's got a similar. I talked about this when I was with Johnson and Ward a little bit. It just came to me while I was answering the question. He's a little bit like Carmichael. Like he doesn't have the McGrath smoothness and all that stuff yet. But I think he's going to get it. I think he's observant. And when he sees somebody doing something, he's good enough to be able to figure out how to do that also, like I did. And Deegan, his dad is going to see it if Hayden didn't. So they're marching through the field. I was, a little disappointed that they didn't just continue upward to the 450, but it feels like he probably needs more experience in how to handle this kind of riding style and how people are going to respond to it. And then he needs another year under his belt. Maybe he's young and he does make some mistakes. He's not running away with his class like you would expect. So maybe he isn't ready for the 450. I just think so because I watch the way he rides. But racing is a different thing, and how you participate with others. You can go fast by yourself, then you get in a pack, and you can't go the same speed because you're worried about what that guy's going to do, and it's a whole different thing.
He didn't get a good start, and he got 11th rather than.
Yeah.
Do you guys believe at any level? I'm 58. David, you don't have to say how old you are, but the generation we grew up with is, if you're out on the playground, eventually you end up punching the bully in the face, like, because you realize the longer you put up with it, you're just going to keep getting pushed around. No disrespect to today's generation, but I feel like there's very few in the
disrespect.
Well,
let's go, coach. Let's go. Where are you? This is how we handle things on social media. Let's go. Get out of the car.
Go. Get out of the car. That's right.
All right.
And that's
go.
Well, no,
I think he's
just
going to bring the same kind of fight to the 450, and he's just going to make it work.
Yeah.
When Travis rode his first Supercross at Indy, I think the whole stadium, the pits, the press box, the fans, the staging area was buzzing because he brought an intensity, and he was in his pre-qualifier to even make it to a day qualifier or something, and took out Sellards by accident. I think he tripled into a turn. He was off timing. And it was just excitement. And he was running. He wasn't making any friends. He wasn't out there to be, intentionally a jerk or anything. But accidentally, he would just do more and end up kind of being scary to be around. And Deegan's going to be the same. But I think when I made that reference to Carmichael, he has the strength and the ability to ride squirrely and not let it bother him. Maybe it even juices him up more, if anything. So he's not going to get tired. He's not going to get tired of trying hard to achieve his goals. And that's similar to what Ricky had going on. And he didn't have the finesse and the smoothness in Supercross. At first, it took him a while to get like Jeremy, but he figured it out. And I think it's going to be the same with Deegan. He's going to figure it out.
Well, Deegan's like, how tall is he? 5'5"? He's pretty small in stocky too. He's like $170. and he's small. So he's like this little heavyweight that's kind of like Carmichael.
Yeah, and I think he's going to do good on it, but perhaps he just needs one more year of experience and all the stuff that's going to go down the rest of the season.
All right, with David, with you said about Max, but what about Levi? Does Levi need to be more aggressive with Deegan? And what about McAdoo? Because he at A1, I don't necessarily think that was really a takeout. It was more of like a miss cross rut that ended up taking out McAdoo, unfortunately. But are these guys does everyone need to be more aggressive with Deegan?
I would be. Depends on where you are in the pack. Some guys don't really want to mess with that. They're like, just go ahead. Everybody knows you're a lot faster than me. So they just kind of, go wide.
Mm-hmm.
But Levi is a better rider at the moment, I think. But he doesn't have that extra get mad and get down to business and, make it a little bit of a fist fight. If everything is going to be a street fight pretty much with Deegan, it's going to come down to that. And so if they're not ready to do that and go toe to toe and be like, whatever, man, bring it. You ain't so bad, then they're going to get beat.
And Johnny, this is what I was saying. I feel like Levi, Joe, and Max Anstey, those are the kids that are on the playground that'll stand their ground. I don't think that there's many, and I do think it's a generational thing where this new generation's been taught you don't stand up for anything, right? You just kind of kowtow, you run to your safe space, you grab your pacifier in your diaper,
File a lawsuit.
file a lawsuit. Yeah, it's just crazy to me that, and I go back to everything like David was saying earlier. Joe Shimoda will only wear white gloves, right? Whether you want to call it superstition or whatever, that's what he does. But Joe was not afraid to go and shake it up with Deegan. You look at Levi, like David said, he just went in there and torpedoed him and said, "Hey, look, you're not. If I can't win this championship, neither are you." But we don't have but more than half a handful there, 3, 4 people that are willing to shake it up with Deegan and not be afraid to go nose to nose, take your helmet off, and be like, "Yeah, dude, what are you going to say about it?"
You
It's
have to believe, though, when you punch back, that you actually can go that fast the rest of the race. And it's not a foregone conclusion that Deegan's going to roll his eyes and absolutely center punch you, and then that's the end of that.
Yeah.
Some of these guys aren't as aggressive with him because they're like, he's going to beat me anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Levi and Anstey should not feel that way. I was thinking Hymas, this might be his year to kind of get going, and it's not happening. And what a that nosedive save deal was. I don't mean to laugh, but that was, now that he's okay, that was funny.
Yeah.
Oh no, how many things went through his head in just like 4 or 5 seconds.
Yeah.
You almost just flew off.
I'm sure he shit his pants because I shit my pants just watching it.
So anyway, it's not happening for him. So to me, it's Anstey is smart enough and steady enough. He's got all this stuff. He can go fast with the whoops. He can jump everything. Gets good starts. He knows how to race. And now that he knows what time it is, pretty much, then it's I think he's going to be the biggest threat unless Levi surprises me and turns it around and starts doing what he knows he can do and should have been doing all along.
Well, David, what do you think about Max being the 30-year-old? He's older than
I don't think that. I know it goes
Roxon
back to
the 250.
It goes back to this 250 class thing, and I get comments, but I don't think that's a class for fathers with kids. That's the younger generation coming up. Get your feet wet, and if you're still in that class at that point, then you better win.